Professor Duncan Mackenzie Fraser was an influential and highly respected member of the engineering education community, both nationally and internationally, and his untimely death at the age of 67 has been a huge loss. I came under Duncan's kind and expert mentoring when I began my own work as an engineering educator nearly 20 years ago, and it was a tremendous privilege to work with him in teaching, education research and curriculum development. And it's my honour today to pay a short tribute to him at the 2015 SARSI conference. Only a few weeks before he died, Duncan was heard to give the following advice to a young academic. You need to stay long enough in a department to effect changes. Duncan Fraser stayed 50 years in the Department of Chemical Engineering at UCT, arriving in 1964 as a first-year student, and except for 3 years working as an engineer at the nearby Caltex refinery, never really leaving. He stayed, and he really effected significant changes, which is what I will try to tell you a little bit about in this short talk. I am going to start with the student focus, because I think that was pretty central to Duncan's being an academic, long before terminology like student-centered learning became fashionable. Duncan just cared. He really cared, and students knew it. Flooding in following his passing were tributes from students whose lives were materially changed by a chat with Duncan, going from being on the brink of dropout to managing to turn things around and ultimately graduate. This impact also went beyond these chats. Through Duncan's influence, a whole department developed a culture about how we engage with students. As a researcher in chemical engineering, Duncan made a lead-in and original set of contributions to the emerging field of process synthesis, using mathematical modeling to figure out how complex chemical plants could be reconfigured to save energy. His work was widely published and was cited in the top journals in this field. He was also an amazing supervisor, and he built a generation of graduate students who have also excelled in this field. If he had simply achieved this, we would be singing the praises of a great academic. But then there is another whole aspect to Duncan's academic life that also became internationally recognized, and in which he also charted new territory. Starting out from his early efforts in the 1980s to respond to the needs of an increasingly diverse student body, Duncan developed a distinctive approach to engineering education, and this focus became a second research area for him. He was a founder member of the Centre for Research in Engineering Education, CRE, and also served a significant term as director of this centre. His international leadership and stature in the field were recognized in his holding the roles of the Founder Secretary General of the African Engineering Education Association and recently President-elect of the International Federation of Engineering Education Societies. I do not have time to tell you much about Duncan's administrative contribution at UCT, but here again, let me tell you that he took up jobs that other people shied away from. He was tireless and he was committed. He did meticulously detailed work. Sometimes it came in pretty close to the deadline, but it was always meticulous. In closing though, I need to return to the start, to the man with a caring heart. Not only did he care for his students, he also really cared for his colleagues. On top of this energetic and busy research and teaching career, Duncan was first and foremost a committed family man, and he set an example that has made ours a department that I think is quite extraordinary in this regard, where academics, male and female, like Duncan, are open about their involvement in their children's lives. Duncan's care extended also well beyond his academic colleagues, and the tributes came in from the administrators and the technical personnel with whom he worked, always so respectfully, so very respectful of everyone's contribution. We really miss him, but his legacy lives on in so many ways. Hamburger Duncan Fraser.